All right, chat. I'm gonna show you guys something. So yesterday on Twitter, right? I didn't stream yesterday, and I follow some devs from Overwatch, and you know how Twitter works, where if other people that you follow like things or retweet them, you see it, right? And I saw a lot of devs yesterday, very angry on Twitter from Overwatch, from Blizzard. I'm not gonna show you any tweets because I don't want to call anybody out. I'm sure you can find them if you do your own research and your own looking. It's all public. And I was like, well, what's everybody pissed off about? And then I saw this, and I was like, oh. Bobby Kotick breaks his silence in battling Activision CEO, addresses toxic workforce claims as Microsoft deal hangs in the balance. See, this is why I always get annoyed when people misuse the word toxic, because it just gets thrown around whenever now. Now it's like, if you even like laugh funny to somebody, like you're like, huh? Like, oh yeah, it's cool. It's like an uncomfortable situation. You're like, oh yeah, huh? You don't really have anything to say. You're not really like, you're gonna like, okay, I just want to move on. Oh, you're being toxic. Hello? Do you even know what toxic is? Well, anyways, I tried not to read this yesterday, but I saw some snippets of it, and oh man, this is probably one of the most delusional things I've ever seen. You gotta see this. Bobby Kotick has a secret. He wants you to buy Time Warner a few years ago. The CEO of Activision Blizzard drops this nugget early on while sitting in the company's Santa Monica headquarters for his first extensive interview since 2012. This is his first interview since 2012, and they literally this is probably one of the worst interviews I've seen in a long time. And you'll see why in a few minutes, but yeah. It's a Friday afternoon, mid-April, which means the office is mostly deserted. Not for long, because they want to force everybody to go back to the office, and probably going to lose a lot of really talented people. Don't forget about that. We're off to a really hot start. Huge replicas of the characters and actual backdrops from the video game's giant roster of franchises, including Call of Duty, Diablo, Overwatch, and Candy Crush. The true moneymaker. Dot the landscape of the open architecture space, the quiet in the building, and the low mid-afternoon light give this place a slightly spooky fun house vibe. Talking about the fucking room they're in. Holy shit, we're off to a hot start. Nobody cares, man. We take their IP and turn it into games. They take our IP and turn it into film and television. And we'd have an extraordinary company, Kotick says, sketching out his vision for a deal in an alternative universe in which AT&T never bought Time Warner and Activision took it on instead. In reality, the Justice Department lost its lawsuit to block the sale of Time Warner to AT&T, but during the first half of 2018, when the fate of the $85.4 billion Time Warner purchase hung in the balance, Activision Blizzard took a cue from its Call of Duty commandos. It stockpiled financial ammunition and waited patiently for an opening to pounce. Okay. We're not even in there yet. Like, this is like literally gassing him up. Wait till you get there. We raised all the capital and we were ready to go in the event AT&T couldn't get the deal done. Kotick says with a grin, he claims to be dispassionate about the missed moment with Time Warner, but his excited vision of what might have been suggests otherwise. My guy is still thinking about, wow, they couldn't buy a fucking movie studio. Meanwhile, their employees and their games are falling apart. Kotick 60 is remarkably sanguine for a CEO fighting battles on multiple fronts. He's in a similar predicament to the one that AT&T and Time Warner were in 5 years ago, as he spent the last 18 months and counting lobbying regulators to approve the sale of Activision Blizzard to Microsoft for the $69 billion in cash. Bro, to actively just be like, yeah, we're lobbying to make sure we can get this through. For those who don't know what actually like lobbying is, I mean, it's kind of here in America, where you literally just like you basically just donate money to politicians in hopes that they will back whatever you do. What's more, Activision Blizzard over the past 5 years has been the focus of harassment and Here we are, we're in the juice now. What's more, Activision Blizzard over the past 5 years has been the focus of harassment and gender equality probes from an alphabet soup of federal and state agencies. Okay, I have not heard that term in a long time. Holy shit. From the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission to California's Civil Rights Department, Kotick has been accused of turning a blind eye and failing to act to address internal culture issues, particularly at the Blizzard unit. Hold up. In a lawsuit filed against Activision in 2021, California's Civil Rights Department alleges that women were subject to constant sexual harassment, including groping comments and advances that the company executives and human resources personnel knew of the harassment and failed to take reasonable steps to prevent the unlawful conduct, and instead retaliated against women who complained. The complaint also accused Activision of having fostered a sexist culture and paid women less than men, and assigned women to lower level jobs than men. Last year, Activision filed a countersuit claim that against the Civil Rights Department, accusing it of ethical lapses in its investigation and attempting to interfere with a separate EEOC investigation, an $18 million settlement reached in 2021. Hold up, we're almost there. The executive says he has been both humbled and outraged by what he considers malicious distortions about the company that he has taken to great heights over 32 years. He makes no apologies for Activision or its culture. He says that the company is preparing to release a slew of data drawn from the EEOC investigation that he hopes will combat the perception that Activision was run as a frat house. For a company with 17,000 employees worldwide, Kotick asserts, Activision has a relatively low level of harassment and assault complaints, though he says that he'll release a transparency report that will provide exculpatory data from outside entities. He acknowledges that the stain left by sweeping allegations will be hard to combat with pie charts and statistical tables. We've had every possible form of investigation done, and we do not have a systematic issue with harassment ever. We didn't have any of that. We didn't have any of what was mischaracterized reported in the media, Kotick asserts. But that's what we did have. But what we did have was a very aggressive labor movement working hard to try and destabilize the company. This is his quote. What we did have was a very aggressive labor movement working hard to try and destabilize the company. He is blaming everyone who went on strike and everybody who put blame and talked about all the stuff that was coming out. Yes. That is his words. When I tell you, chat, when I get really fucking pissed that I'm mad not only at Overwatch, but like when I get mad at up here, like the up tops, I'm not mad at the devs. I know a lot of them. They're actually really nice people. But the shit that goes on at the top is so like it's insane. They are legitimately delusional. Imagine actually going into an interview, your first interview since 2012, and saying, asserting, but what we did have was not harassment or anything, but we did have a very aggressive labor movement working hard to try to destabilize the company. Like some outside voodoo force coming in and ruining his amazing company that he's built for 32 years. Holy fuck, it gets worse. Kotick places the blame for most of Activision's image problems on what he calls outside forces in labor activity around the company. The Communications Workers of America and Activision employees have filed a stream of complaints against the company with the National Labor Relations Board. Kotick believes labor organizers are influencing the state and federal investigations into harassment and gender discrimination claims, as well as Activision employee walkouts that have been staged periodically since 2021. One more time. He believes that labor organizers are influencing the state and federal investigations into harassment and gender discrimination claims, as well as Activision employee walkouts that have been staged periodically since 2021. He believes that labor organizers are doing all of this. The employees, the people that work there, the fucking people at the bottom who make like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year Most. Like, we're talking low level, like, even the highest level devs, like, how much do you think they make? How much do you think, like Aaron Keller makes? Like, Aaron Keller is technically probably considered, like, executive level, right? But realistically, not real executive level. It's probably, like, top of Overwatch executive level. There's still people above him in the Overwatch space. You know what I mean? Like, they have 200K max. Didn't Bobby bring home, like, 10 million last year or, like, 15 million last year? So, anyways, it's the employees that are ruining it. Think about that. Let's keep going. Corporations choose to be disruptive when they run anti-union campaigns, says Beth Allen, communications director for the CWA. Workers who join together to improve their workplaces intend to make constructive changes for the benefit of all. When employers voluntarily recognize unions and engage in good faith contract bargaining, it builds trust and strengthens companies. In fact, the heat between Activision and CWA has cooled a bit as of late. The CWA successfully organized workers at Activision's Raven Software division earlier this month. They do like Call of Duty stuff, I believe. While the CWA-backed Game Workers Alliance organized workers at an Activision unit in Albany, New York in December. Contract talks for those workers begin next week. Over the last few months, we've worked thoughtfully and productively with CWA, Kotick explains, and we've engaged in a dialogue that will be beneficial for our people and the union and the company. Yeah, right. In November 2021, after allegations about the company were reported in depth by the Wall Street Journal, about 1,000 employees signed a public petition urging Kotick to resign as CEO. By the way, 1,000 people last year signed for him to step down. 1,000 people at this company. Still not. And again, Kotick sees regulators... Sorry, let's see this again. Kotick sees regulators fanning the flames that led to the journal's exposés. He believes his biggest mistake was failing to forcefully defend the company and his legacy to the journal in his public statements. He's not mad about he's not mad about what happened. He's not mad about the people. He's not mad about the bad shit that happened. He's mad that he wasn't more forceful in defending the company and his own personal legacy. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if any of this... Sorry, I wouldn't be here sitting talking to you if any of what you read in the inflammatory narrative was truthful. That's what he did, though. He just didn't talk for 2 years. So, what do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. That makes literally negative sense. If it was well, if it wasn't truthful, I wouldn't be saying anything. If it was truthful, I wouldn't be here. What do you mean? You didn't say anything for a long time. So, huh? That makes no sense. Kotick says, although he has become synonymous with Activision, he's quick to point out that he does not have control of the company through voting rights, as some of the media Mongols do. That's a sentence. And then he owns less than 5% of its shares. No board of directors in a non-controlled company is going to allow the CEO of the enterprise to stay running the enterprise if those things were truthful. He says... So basically his thing is saying he wouldn't still be here if it was true. And that they would have kicked him out if it wasn't true. If it was true. That's the reasoning. Is, well, they didn't kick me out, so it's not true. What? In a statement to the Wall Street Journal, spokesman told Variety, "We stand by our fair and accurate reporting of Activision." Wait, but why wouldn't shareholders and PR and HR protect the guy who has brought their share, the shareholder number, how much the stock is worth, has risen over the years with Bobby Kotick as CEO. So he makes them more money. He is basically, what he understands is how to farm every game for as much money as possible. And he is good at making money for Blizzard. They're very good at it. If you look at Candy Crush, you look at it the way Overwatch 2 is monetized, all of those things. Those games are basically programmed to be slot machines. If Bobby could make a game, it would be a slot machine game where you just sit there and put your money in it the entire time. So yeah, on some level, if there's not if they don't have overwhelming public evidence and they're going to want to keep them there to make more money for them. The shareholders don't give a fuck. They don't care. They want more money. So like that argument is highly flawed. Kotick didn't launch Activision, but was a young investor who was drawn in the 1980s tech boom. He acquired the company when it was near bankruptcy in the late 1990s, became CEO in February 1991. Under Kotick's leadership, Activision has seen its market value increase by 8 times since 2009. So since 2009, it's grown 8 times as large. So it's probably made a lot of those shareholders, and it's doubled since 2019. So it makes shareholders tons of money. So those shareholders want more money. So that kind of like, looking back here is like, unless it was like you literally killed a guy, they're probably going to want to keep you because they want more money. Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. Anyways, whoever thinks shareholders are morally ethical most of the time is like crazy. It's also grown significantly through savvy acquisitions. Today, Activision Blizzard is the fifth largest maker of video games, with a balance sheet and a loyal customer base of Hollywood studio that would envy. In Kotick's view, Hollywood is only now starting to catch up on building the kind of fandoms and franchises the power of the $200 billion global video game industry. Okay. Michael Pachter, the media analyst for Wedberg Securities, who has covered Activision since 2002, said Kotick is a force of nature leader who has proven his ability to galvanize teams to make massive swings on properties and take years and many millions of dollars to develop and produce. Yeah, but he's also known as the guy who like forces teams to work on things for months and then says, nah, I don't like it anymore, drop it. And that's what happened in Overwatch 1, actually. One of Activision's hallmarks has been a willingness to delay planned releases if the company doesn't feel that a new edition of Call of Duty or World of Warcraft or another franchise title is worthy of its predecessors. Not true no more. More than a decade ago, Kotick also buckled the trend by opting to double and triple down on upgrades and new integrations of its biggest selling titles rather than diversify in wider range. Okay, so basically this is just patting himself on the back for numbers. Okay, let's see. That said, serious problems with Activision's workplace culture were also Kotick's responsibility. And on those issues, the CEO fell short, Pachter says. He believes that Microsoft's transaction was spurred in part by Activision being on the ropes in late 2021 and Kotick being ready to move on after three decades at the helm. Bobby inherited and allowed to thrive in a culture of male domination. He presided over a culture that was toxic at times. That is bad, Pachter says. Ultimately, he'll be relieved that Microsoft came along. There's another part that's like, let's see. Honestly, a lot of this is just kind of like him just getting patted on the back. Like, the rap against Kotick has been that he bought his way to video game success. Most recently, he made a savvy deal in 2016 to acquire King, and UK-based maker of addictive mobile games such as Candy Crush, for $5.9 billion in cash. That Activision well positioned to ride mobile gaming that accelerated. Like, as Activision has grown, Kotick has become a handy villain, depicted as the rich suit who lives off the money of gamers to shell out their favorite pastime. The slogging on video game-centric social media platforms has taken a toll on Kotick and his family. The hatred has turned into a lot of anti-Semitism, Kotick says. When you look at images of me on the internet, there are some anti-Semitic undertones. My kids have even gotten death threats. I'm not going to pull up the tweet, but I did see a tweet from some devs that basically were pointing out how back in like 2007, 2008, there's a voicemail of a secretary basically saying like, to him, like, you know, I'm tired of your shit. And he called her and left a voicemail leaving her death threats. So not saying it's deserved, but you kind of done the same thing. Just saying. So, and that was as the employer. Longtime Kotick colleagues and competitors say he's exacting, and Activision's results and track record speak for themselves. The company has been able to keep growing by prioritizing quality over quantity and setting a high bar for improving the gaming experience. That's just like not even true anymore. Let's see. In one-on-one conversation, Kotick can be disarmingly funny and warm, with a McKay Rooney-like air of energy, can-do energy. He's soft-spoken even when wound up about a particular subject. He lights up when he's talking about Activision's strengths and future plans. During a tour of Activision's motion... Almost puked by like how much fucking gurgling's going on here. In a space of Playa del Rey, for example, he is easily conversant on specifics of the technology and how much improving the company's motion capture tech elevated the experience of playing Call of Duty and other immersive titles. Let me get this straight. During a tour of Activision's motion capture production space in Playa del Rey, for example, he can easily converse on specifics of the technology and how improving the company's motion capture tech elevated the experience of playing Call of Duty and other immersive titles. He didn't make that. The devs made that. You didn't make that. You didn't do any of the work there. He's taking their credit. He proudly shows off a bit of expensive production tech that looks like a jungle gym made of cameras, sensors, and wires. He oohs and ahs as a technician demonstrates how the device works when a person wearing a motion capture skull cap steps inside. It's all in service of allowing Activision artists and engineers to bring an ever more photorealistic look to games. Dude, like 5 paragraphs ago, he was literally saying that the devs were trying to undercut him, and that they're basically they're trying to undercut this company at the knees, and they're all out to get us, and they're all wrong. And now it's saying like, oh, yeah, I'm so excited about all this work we put in. What do you mean we? Playing games is such a visceral experience, Kotick explains. We're getting to the point where the game itself is able to create its own content in real time. That'll be... Oh my god, I forgot about this one. Playing games is such a visceral experience, Kotick explains. We're getting to the point that the game itself is able to create its own content in real time. That'll be exquisite. That will be exquisite. If the game makes its own content, then you don't need more devs to make more content. The game will make its own content and continue to make you more money. It's like an endless slot machine with less costs. Of course it sounds exquisite to him. He wants us, the players, with things like workshop or map editors or whatever, to make the content ourselves, so then they don't have to pay as much to have content be made, and then guess what? They make more money because they don't have to pay as many people and just keep pumping microtransactions. Wow, that's so cool. Kotick has a lot on his mind about recent events, but if there's one thing he wants to make crystal clear, is that his son is... that this son of a teacher is not... No fucking way. Oh my god. Kotick has a lot on his mind about recent events, but if there's one thing he wants to make crystal clear, is that this son of a teacher is not anti-union. Nah, f off, man. Why would what your parents did have any effect on how you end up being? Like, your fucking parent was a teacher. You're a CEO of a company of a Fortune 500 that literally like tries to ruin people's lives. Like, f off, man. In fact, he is a member of a prominent union, SAG-AFTRA. He joined when he was cast in a small role in Bennett Miller's 2011 baseball drama Moneyball, starring Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. Kotick played the tight-fisted owner of the Oakland A's. Nah, don't even give me that. Dude. Come on, man! There's no... This guy is flexing and playing the pity card and the victim card, but also letting you know I was an actor actually. Oh god, man! I'm not like other CEOs that are anti-union. Shut up, dude! The biggest pick-me energy of all time. I'm not like other CEOs. I'm not like other girls. I'm not like other CEOs. I'm different. Kotick says, I'm the only Fortune 500 CEO who's the member of a union. If we have employees who want a union to represent them, and they believe that union is going to be able to provide them with opportunities, enhancements to their work experience, I'm all for it. If I have a mother who is a teacher, I have no aversion to a union. What I do have an aversion to is a union that doesn't play by the rules. Whose rules? Yours? Bro, come on, man. There's no way. Dude, there's nothing worse to me in this world than people that don't think their shit stinks. Everyone's shit stinks, man. Don't pretend like it doesn't. To me, this is almost like saying, I'm not sexist because I have a mom. Like, bro, that does not make any sense. Like, stop talking, my guy. Stop talking, please. The year is 2021. This year, 2021, was Activision's annual horriblest. I don't know what that is. By its end, Activision stock had plummeted by 35%. The confidence is okay. Okay, these guys are on their asses, says Claude Griffin, video game analyst for okay, all the negative headlines. Okay. Let's see. Activision was in a stronger place these days. Might have been whispers in the industry about whether Kotick might be having second thoughts about hitching the company's wagon to Microsoft, but Kotick, who stands to make a this is my favorite part. But Kotick, who stands to make a not-so-small fortune in the sale, says he's only focused on guiding the deal through the regulatory roadblocks. So you're telling me the guy who's 60, right, who's probably towards the end of his career, and is clearly hated by many, many people for lots of good reasons, is focused on guiding the deal through, because, you know, he's a good guy, wants to get through it. He's 60? He said earlier in this, he said he was 60. Yeah. And I think he's gonna make, like, I don't remember what the number is. I don't know if it's in here, but I'm pretty sure it's like it's like somewhere between like 50 and 100 million. Like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get to the end of this. You know, I don't have second thoughts. I'm only gonna make 50 million on the way out the door. Dude, imagine you retire and get 50 million, bro. He's exasperated by the public debate on whether Microsoft, in combination with Activision, will have too much sway over the nascent cloud gaming sector. In his view, the real dance to the U.S. firms falls behind not only China's Tencent, ByteDance, and Alibaba. The U.S. firms fall behind not only China's Tencent, ByteDance, and Alibaba. That's so funny because that's who their partner was for years. They were literally partnered with Tencent. They were literally partners. And then it fell apart and it went hostile. And now it's like, oh, we got to be worried about them. Like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like, you guys were best friends when you guys are making millions. Kotick emphasizes that he thinks Microsoft is a perfect fit for Activision. The company has financial resources and infrastructure to support the kind of investment that will be needed to remain competitive in the space that Activision has helped define over the past 30 years. I think Microsoft is by far the best place for us to be. Yeah, and you'll make a sweet 50 million, you know? That said, if the deal doesn't go through, Activision will soldier on as a balance sheet is bolstered by $12.6 million cash on the books. They have $12.6 billion in cash. That will grow by nearly $3 billion if Microsoft has to pay Activision the deal breakup fee negotiated as part of this transaction. Wait, so they get $3 billion if it doesn't go through? What the f***? That's a lot of cash to wield should Kotick decide to go shopping for other companies. Bro. As Kotick talks of the virtues of the Microsoft deal for Activision at the close to nearly 2-hour conversation, though, it's clear he's thinking about both his next moves and his legacy. No shit. Like, this guy cares more about his image than his actual employees and the people that work there and the shit that actually made him to the point where people even know who he is. Because without them, they don't even know who you are, little bro. They don't even know you. Handing Activision to a new owner will be hard, but perhaps made easier by Kotick's long-standing relationships with Phil Spencer, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, and Microsoft's chief executive, Satya Nadella. I like the company, Kotick says about Microsoft. I like the culture. I'm really scared about the economy. And compensation for talent has been ratcheting up in ways that are complex for us to deal with. So this deal made a lot of sense. Hold up. Wait a minute. I like the company, Kotick says of Microsoft. I like the culture. I'm really scared about the economy. Compensation for talent has been ratcheting up in ways that are complex for us to deal with. So he's saying that talented people are getting expensive. So this is like that like sign that like, when you go to a new job and you're like, oh, what's it like here? And they're like, we're family. And you're like, run. You basically just said the quiet part out loud. It's like, yeah, we're having to pay people too much. It's too much to pay them. We need more money. We only have $12.6 billion in cash. We need Microsoft's money. For anyone who sits back and wonders why I was so mad about Overwatch 2 and why I was so mad about why PvE being canceled, it's because I feel bad for the devs. But there should have been a second dev team in the background working on PvE. They should have hired in more people to have a second team of PvP and PvE to make two separate things, because it was two separate games. But instead, it was one dev team trying to make two games. And so instead of hiring more people to be able to do both of those things, they said just f*** it, cancel it. Kotick sounds like he's still a little unconvinced himself, but even amid the ongoing litigation over harassment claims, Activision is still in the fortunate position of having options. We have a great company, we have an enormous amount of momentum, and we have an extraordinary balance sheet, Kotick says, and we can continue to be a successful alone like we have been for the last 30 years, but it'll be great if the deal goes through because I think it's the right thing for our industry. It's, it hits a little bit different to say in the same interview, I'm really scared about the economy. Compensation for talent has been ratcheting up in ways that are complex for us to deal with. And then no more than a paragraph later say, we have a great company with an enormous amount of momentum and we have an extraordinary balance sheet. In the span of one paragraph went from saying, yeah, costs are getting kind of high to we have a ton of money. So who do you think made you that money? Anyways, though, I'm glad that a lot of devs were speaking out about this and they were really, really upset because they should be, because they are run by literal fucking idiots.